Okay, so Deb, we're back here with the heroes portion and wanting to discuss about not being alone. That's kind of the main thread, and I know this goes in lots of directions. But when people are attacked or duped, what is it? What can we do for people to support them in not feeling alone? And why do we feel alone when we know that this happens to so many people?
Right. I think part of that, when we feel alone, that is a natural human tendency. I think because of this independent life, we try to have this independence, and I think what we're actually looking for is interdependence. I think we need a lot more of that. We're not designed. Human beings are not a species that is designed to live on its own, or to be alone. And yet, we've talked about where the world is at, and that whole idea of going from, having success or having a result, and as an entrepreneur and as a mother and everything else that I do as a friend, as a coach, doesn't matter what it is, there is no alone. And I think we need to realize that I wouldn't be here doing this if it weren't for you and Secure Online, the program, and Banker Marketing and all of that. I wouldn't be here. So we have to have this concept, this understanding of building support around us, and we have to actively do that. And I think that's one of the things where we don't have to do it alone, but we do have to take the steps so that we're not alone. I think for those vulnerable people, we live in a very small community, and I know that there are agencies and people and families that protect our young ones. And I know that there are agencies and families and individuals that protect our older people. And we need to continue to do that, especially in this realm, so they don't feel ashamed. They don't feel that.
And I think too, like when we talk about feeling ashamed and feeling alone, that whole idea of self-talk. And I know we wanted to explore that a little bit more too, because in our heads, we are alone. And you can have more than one voice sometimes, because you have like a negative and a positive side, and right, because I think that's part of the problem solving process of like, okay, this is what's happened, how do I get out of this, right, with like mitigate damage, right, a lot of the time. I think about, like, for example, I think about like even when you're a kid and you get caught doing something that you kind of knew was maybe risky, or you knew that you would get in trouble for, and then trying to like backpedal, without lying, without like, how do you get out of that so you're not like totally grounded for the next month, right? So, and as adults, we have a lot more, and even as young people, there's a lot of decision making that happens at a young age, and they don't know until they've made those decisions, the ramifications. And I think too, with security online and social engineering, it's the same token, because yes, you're an adult. Yes, you could be 20, you could be 50, you could be 70, and we're all at risk for these things to happen, right? And then of course that self-talk.
Right. And I think when you said that you're inside your head, I think one of the things that we have to practice is telling ourselves the truth. And we often tell ourselves worst case scenario. We often tell ourselves certain things that we think about ourselves that have been put on us that maybe aren't true. But we need to tell ourselves the truth. And the truth is that there are people out there that are going to try to take advantage of you for whatever reason. That's not in your control. But what is in your control is what you think and what you do. And when we do something, trusting, and that trust is broken, or it's manipulated, or it's put in, that doesn't mean we're bad. It doesn't mean we're alone. It doesn't mean we're naive, or we need to hide, or we need to be ashamed. And that's where I think the most power is having that set in your head. Right now in the world, scientists used to think that when we were 18, that was it. Our thought patterns, our neurons, everything was set. Neuroscience is showing that we can reprogram things, and that's where the power is in mental health. It's changing the way you think.
Almost like that neuroplasticity, right?
Yes. Yeah. And, it takes
the cognitive thought behavior, right?
Yes.
Or process. Yeah.
Yes. And of course, what they're understanding is that things that stick with us, these neural pathways, are created by emotion and repetition. Emotion and repetition. So that's where shame comes from, right?
Yeah. And sometimes it's reward and sometimes it's right.
Yes.
Depending on what the behavior is.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. So being able to rewire those pathways with positive thought, with telling yourself the truth, and building the resilience that we talked about earlier, right? Practicing that over and over, and building a network. If it's wanting your parents or your grandparents or your loved ones, offering that to them, offering them the understanding and the learning that you have around security, around what's going on.
And even having open conversations, right?
Yes.
Just making it even a family conversation, even if you talked about, has anybody heard anything? Has something happened to someone? What do we know about, like recently that we weren't aware of maybe a month ago?
Right.
Right.
And I think all we do is offer our young people those conversations and offer them that openness and understanding that anybody can get duped. Anybody. Do not feel bad. Do not hide it. Do not do that. Come to me.
Yeah.
Just that openness.
For sure.
Yeah.
So if you or one of your loved ones have been through something like this, there is help available to you. We would recommend counseling services. If you can reach out to a security place like Learn Online Security for information, anything that others can do to help you so that you're not alone.